Vikram, let me start with you. What do you think are the biggest challenges and opportunities that face the customer experience and loyalty industry during the next year?
So you asked me the first question because sitting next to you.
Yeah.
Thanks. You know, globally there's this whole zone of areas where people are getting less and less connected with brands and organizations. So people trust brands lesser. So there was a study that was done recently by, if I'm not mistaken, Bain & Company, that said that the likelihood of someone going in for a purchase is 15 times higher if you get a recommendation from a stranger. So people are trusting organizations and brands lesser and lesser. So that creates a whole microcosm of choices that organizations and brands need to exercise and be cognizant of as well. So I think that those are, in my opinion, two sort of key challenges. And I think the third one within the Middle East specifically is that I think the Middle East as an area of employment is becoming increasingly attractive from a global context. So in the UAE alone, as far as if you just look at us at Emirates NBD, we've got about 190 plus nationalities that bank with us. So you've got people from all over the world coming in with different levels of understanding of our business. And it's important that we're able to deal with this entire sort of cross-section of the population efficiently. So that creates a fair amount of stress in terms of the business model. It creates challenges on what the operating environment should be, and therefore how should costs be managed such that you are then able to look at profitability in the context of the shareholders, what they're seeking. So my top three are these.
Okay, and Rizwan, if I can come to you. What role do you actually think that those brands, that people want those brands to play in their life?
Well, I think it depends, honestly, on what your choices are and what your needs are. In terms of banking itself, it's a pretty fundamental sort of need that everybody has. You're dealing with cash, or you're dealing with money, or you need to borrow money. And you need a name or a place where you can have the convenience of meeting the right people, getting your problems solved in a timely fashion, and sort of like, getting what you need at the end of the day. I mean, if you look at the cards industry in specific, it's become such a common commodity. It's almost like a brand of tea that you like, whether you like Lipton or a different brand, or Red Label or Yellow Label or whatever it is. That's what the credit cards are like today. If you look at the telecom, I mean, the only brand that comes to mind is like Apple nowadays, in terms of the, not by telecoms, but I mean the phones, the handsets. And the way they do their marketing and the way they do their communication keeps people sort of addictive in terms of wanting more. The basic need is making a phone call and sending SMSs, right, or checking the internet. But everybody wants the latest iPhone. iPhone 5S comes out and then 6 is announced, or 6 is coming out and 7 is being worked on. So I think it just really depends on what your basic needs are, and everybody has a different set of needs in different segments.
Okay, and Hamad, you've, OSN have recently launched the Privileges, which is a unique online platform, and you look at recognizing positive behavior. So talk us through how you've managed to take that into people's wants and needs.
When we were in the process of thinking about recognizing loyalty from our customers, we looked at various models that exist in the loyalty industry to see what is it that our customers actually want. On one side, we did detailed analysis of the information that we already had as an organization. And on the other side, we asked our customers what is it that they are looking for. What we realized is that people are not looking for only rewards, they are looking for recognition, especially our customers. Recognition is something that gives them that feeling that we as a brand understand them. We are willing to go that extra yard to do things that they value, rather than giving them a toaster or an iron or points that they don't know what to do about. So our biggest insights were to do something which is relevant for our customer profile, and I'll give you some examples of that, and recognize them as much as reward them. So the program that we have designed, I mean, there is a committed purpose. So first of all, we moved away from the cards and from points and this and that, and designed a platform that is a totally online platform. Each and every customer, whether they are a platinum customer or a customer of a smaller pack that we have, they can participate in that. There is a committed proposition in that, and then there is a proposition which we call money can't buy sort of experiences. And that's a proposition which is very closely linked to our business, as well as is very relevant for our customers who see us as an entertainment brand. So just to give you an example of that, so one of the rewards that we have is that we can send a couple of people to attend Oscars. Unless you are a movie producer or, I mean, an actor or actress, it is very difficult to go and attend Oscars. Tickets for Oscars are not sold. And we take some of our customers and take them to Oscars. So, I mean, this is an example of not only giving them a reward, but recognizing why do they want to have a relationship with a brand, with OSN, and giving them something that is aspirational and very, very, very relevant. And there are a lot of examples that we have created. But I mean, when you talk about loyalty programs or CRM programs, I think the most important thing there is to understand your customers before you embark on that journey, and to understand what are the needs that your customers will have potentially. What is it that will keep them connected to your brand? How can you, for us, reducing the churn is the biggest reason why we initiated this program. And then on the front end, we have something that gives customers that they want, and on the back end, that enables us to gather even more data that shows us what is their churn propensity, how can we address.
Ian, we had a very interesting discussion in the break about a sort of slightly different approach to launching into a program. Would you like to take people through your views?
You're thinking about the loyalty app that we've launched recently. We launched about 5 days ago a loyalty game, and it was a response to our customers telling us we have a very high repeat rate of business at NKD Pizza, and we're very proud of that. But a lot of our customers said to us, your competitors are giving us coupons and discounts, and you never give us anything. They were saying what they wanted was, and again, it wasn't about the monetary value, they wanted to be recognized as good customers, which is something that we completely understood and resonated well. And so our response to that was, well, we don't want to discount as such, because I don't think that's what our customers were asking us for. They were asking us for recognition or reward, or to have a deeper engagement with our company. And so what we came up with was the idea of loyalty. And and then we thought, well, we thought about different ways of having loyalty programs. And if you just buy 10, get one free and things like that, that's really not that interesting for our customers. And I don't think it was truly what they were asking us for, because they weren't asking us for free stuff. They were asking us for recognition, and they wanted to engage with us more. That's what we read into their feedback. And so we came up with something, we wanted to gamify the experience. So what people do with us now is, we just started the program 6 days ago. We have a Facebook application on our webpage, and whenever you order a pizza from us, you get a little playing card, and on that playing card is one of our ingredients, and there's a unique number. You can enter that card on our Facebook application, and you start to play. Then you can trade those cards with others, and you play for prizes. There's instant prizes and whatnot. So it's only been just coming on 6 days now, and we've had 650 people register already, which we're very pleased with, because we're just ramping up our marketing. We've had a lot of activity on the site already, so we've had a massive number of hits and a lot of interesting activity and behavior. So we're very hopeful that this is something that our customers like. And it's also very social. It's very much tied into social media. So whenever you do something, if you win something, it shares with your friends. We're very much respectful that if you want to turn those notifications off, you can. But it's very viral. So whenever you win something, you get it tells your friends you just won X playing, and the program's called Win NKD. So we're very sort of pleased with the way it's working so far. There's a lot of different versions and things we can do with it, but we seem to have received a great amount of engagement in a very short period of time.
Okay, and how do you guys feel that social media is being managed by various corporations within the Middle East?
if I may. You know, there is this thing about social media that whenever people start talking about it, they think that social media is something which is extremely different from what marketeers have been doing in the past. My theory and thought is that I mean, there is this cliche statement, I mean, you know, that everything has changed, but nothing has changed. Social media is one of those things. It is a new tool, but the fundamental way in which you can utilize that tool remains the same. You need to know your customers, you need to have insights, you need to segment the customers, you need to bring a proposition which is relevant to the customers. And social media is just a tool in a huge, I mean, you know, I would say, I mean, there are 20 tools and social media is just one of those tools. So my advice to everyone around me is that look into that, but with that, I would say, lens of maintaining your fundamental truths intact, truths about marketing intact. There are a lot of marketeers saying all over the world that the term social media or digital media will not exist in a few years because everything will be digital marketing. And that's pretty much true, but I mean, you know, but also as that happens, I mean, you know, we have to stay, I mean, you know, concentrate and focus on what any marketeer would do, and that is to understand the customers, get the insights, bring a product that is relevant for your customers, and then market it well. Social media, I mean, you know, obviously, one of the things also that I must mention is that, I mean, you know, probably the people who are sitting here are that first, I would say, batch of senior marketeers who have had to very actively look into this medium, understand it, deploy it. So we are all learning, we are all students in this field. I mean, you know, there wasn't a generation before us who could tell, a generation of marketeers who could tell us, I mean, you know, what are the do's and don'ts in social media. I mean, you know, you talk about TV marketing or outdoor and this and that, there are people who can tell you a lot of stuff about that. So we have had to learn a lot about it. And the secret of success there is learning about it, but not being afraid with it. I mean, you know, afraid of it.
One of the things you have to be careful of is it can't be a Me Too strategy. Just because other people are doing it, you can't just say, I'm going to do it also. You have to be able to maintain it on a consistent basis. You can't just skip a day or skip a week saying, I'm just not going to interact with people's comments, or somebody's just really mad and angry about their experience and I'm just going to avoid it. I think sometimes confrontation is also seen as building trust with your brand, and the fact that you are admitting to things that may have gone wrong or may have gone right. The other thing that social media can do for you is, and one of the things that I don't see people using a lot in this region is the Net Promoter Score. As Vikram mentioned earlier, more people rely on recommendations from the strangers than even like the brands that are marketing themselves. So social media has really become that sort of your uncle or your aunt or your big brother or sister who you go to saying, I'm looking for something, what do you recommend I do? So I think that's one thing with social media. I think examples of social media, to be honest with you, in this region, it's hard to say one brand versus the other, because it again goes back to what they're trying to do with it. And I think that's, to Hamad's point earlier also, is you as a marketeer have to first sort of draw on a whiteboard, what is it that you want to get out of social media? What's the end result, or what do you want it to do for you? Is it to gain more likes on Facebook? Okay, great, you have a lot of likes. What do the likes translate into? You have a lot of people watching you, like, you know, I mean, one of the experiences that I had at Diners Club in Oman is when we launched our Facebook page. We didn't get a lot of likes, but every time we posted something, and we had the frequency of posting something on a daily basis, we saw the posting being seen by hundreds of people, but a lot of people liking it. And we were quite sort of amazed with it, saying like, well, why do people watch it or look at it, but not like it? So that's where you have to go back to the customers through another channel to say like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? Am I sending you the message that you like what you saw? If you did, why didn't you like it on the page? So I think social media can be dangerous and at the same time can be very productive if used properly. I think in this region, again, Mark, to your point, it's hard to say who's using it right and who's not using it rightly.
Some examples of where you think, okay, I wish I'd been part of the team that did that piece of work.
You could just say OSN. It's all right.
OKD is doing a pretty good, I mean, NKD is doing a pretty good job also, it seems like. For the past 6
I'm the
days.
only one tweeting off the panel right now, so.
I mean, I think from an industry perspective also, if you look at what the auto industry is doing with social media, with the bookings of the test drives or the new release of the new models, is one example. If you look at the banking sector, I think it's a bit more conservative still in terms of social media. They're not pushing the envelope to the extent where they should. It is a source of, or a channel of another sort of a marketing campaign. It's not really engaging customers in a way that they should. Telcos, I think, are doing a good job with it in terms of social media.
I think, Mark,
If-
on
if
that.
I'm- sorry.
Go ahead.
Vikram?
So if I may, I think since the topic of banks came up, I could talk about what we've done at Emirates NBD. We've got about 170,000 followers across different social platforms, who are connected with us. Our view on this is very clear. We believe that this is a platform where we can really differentiate ourselves by servicing customers efficiently. So if you come onto Twitter or Facebook with Emirates NBD, you will find that there is a response that you get to the query or the complaint that you may have. And a lot of us across the banking region, banking industry, are beginning to discover that there would perhaps come a point in time where Twitter and Facebook might become bigger than your call center in terms of the queries that and the complaints that one would need to address. I particularly admire a few organizations across the world who made a business out of social. And I think that's really where true differentiation is coming in. The first one that really comes to my mind is Nike and Nike Fuel. And Nike Fuel is a $1 billion organization and perhaps the fastest growing division within the Nike organization. And I think it's a terrific example of how products, connections with people, comparisons, choices, and reviews have been beautifully structured to create an organizational model which works and is profitable. Within banks, I think American Express in the US has done some interesting work. They did a effort which was more a corporate social responsibility effort, which is about small and medium-sized enterprises in the US, and they realized that they were being eaten up by the giants. And Amex saw an opportunity where they could get these smaller enterprises, which was your neighboring grocer or a bakery shop, to the fore and get them connected at a much larger level. So I think that's a program which has been on for the last 5 years. And a lot of local communities and support groups have come together favoring business with these small enterprises. And suddenly, small enterprises are seeing a very clear niche market, which is beginning to evolve for themselves, which perhaps differentiates them from the larger players like Walmart, etc. In fact, Barack Obama in his campaign pitch got involved in this entire effort as well.
I tend to believe that the big data is actually the future of marketing across all industries and all markets. But big data exists in my restaurant, in my my enterprise software, in my online ordering software, in my loyalty app. I have big data today, and I think most companies have it because once you connect somebody with mobile, you know a lot about them. Once you connect somebody with social media, you know a lot about them. The question is, what are you doing with that data, and how are you integrating that data? And so for our business, what we're working on is creating first a physically integrated enterprise-level database that pulls together all of these different systems, whether it be social media or our point-of-sale systems, or online ordering systems, or mobile apps, or our loyalty program, The first challenge for us is to get that infrastructure in place to allow us to assimilate that ecosystem into one place, so I can now track and do things with that data and do meaningful things with that data. And I don't believe there's a lot of even big companies or small companies that are using this data effectively. It's not data for data's sake, but what if I could, for example, interact with you the way that you tell me you want me to interact with you. So my job as a provider of services is to allow my customers to interact with me in the way that they're most comfortable and the easiest and most convenient way or ways. But I need to be able to give them all of those platforms, and I need to be able to respond to them equally on all of those platforms. And so the ability to have that infrastructure in place, and we're working very closely on that, and we think we'll be within the next 3 to 4 months, we'll have all that data in place. The next question is, what can you do with it to effectively market to people? And that's not marketing at people, that's engaging with people in the way that they want to be engaged with.
And Vikram, from a larger enterprise point of view, where do you think that companies in the region are with this move from data to insights?
See, from a bank's perspective, any large bank or a financial service company in the region would have a couple of million customers and probably, tens of millions of transactions every month. I think there is still a lot more efficiency that can come into play. But we're seeing a larger investment that's happening in terms of technology. We see a lot of organizations that have invested in CRMs, which are at this point of time more oriented towards sales, but those investments are coming through. There's also a lot of work which is happening in terms of integrating customer data with their social information and trying to make sure that at whatever points in time the customer interacts with the organization, that information that we have about the customer is leveraged and sales/service messaging is extended. I think the industry in the last couple of years in the MENA region has come a long way, but all over the world there's some terrific work that's happening as well. So I think over the next couple of years I look forward to more and more examples of companies in the MENA region actually leading this at the forefront rather than extending best practices within the region as perhaps it is happening at this point in time.
And Hamad, let me just go to Hamad. How do you find that, so we've got data, we're beginning to see some use of insight now. How does that go from then, from insight into making these impactful decision-making sort of
Sure.
actions that we all would like to see?
Sure. So I think the secret there is to enable the people who need to make decisions, enable and arm them with the data and the results of that data or whatever the data can show you. So when for instance, the people who are at the front end, who handle customers, who answer the customers, who need to take decisions, they should be able to see the data. They should be able to utilize it. One of the things with data is that as Ain said, data exists in all the organizations. But where does it exist? Who are the primary users? It should not be limited to the CEOs and CMOs and CFOs, who are the people that are seeing the data and utilizing it for their decision making. The secret is to take it and utilize it, in a way where your front end customer service, customer handling people are armed with it. So in our case, for instance, we receive thousands of calls every day from customers who want to, potential customers to dissatisfied customers to, people who want to order their movies and things like that. At the click of a button, for the people who are handling their calls, for them to know what can I do, what is the customer history, if someone is trying to upgrade, where do they live, what sort of car do they drive, how many kids do they have, can I position a product which is more relevant to them, or, if someone is trying to churn, if someone is threatening to churn, however, if the customer service person can see that they have won a major major prize through privileges last month. Their propensity to churn is really low, so I should not give another additional offer to them. I mean, these are the type of things that our people at the front end need to be armed with. And as far as a company can do that, I think, that's the best use of data from an ROI perspective as well.
And Rizwan, let me bring you in there. So in an area of the world that has traditionally had quite a sort of a transient labor force at that front end section, how do you think that's going to impact the way we deal and affect those front end employees?
Well, I think you need to break down the message and the data into smaller sort of chewable pieces. And I'll just sort of, if I may just rewind just a little bit. Data translation into information, what I see in this region, I think is just there's still some gaps in terms of where we are, in terms of using the analytics behind the customers that we service every day and acquire every day to making decisions in terms of marketing. In my previous jobs, one of the tools that we created by looking at the transactional data and customer behavior was building a proactive sales management tool. And to Hamad's point, we actually enabled the front lines to basically react to the customer's need when they called into the call centers. So if somebody called in and wanted to close their account, for instance, we had the historical data and information loaded into sort of scorecards, which was communicated across the board saying, these are the offers that can be made available. This is the propensity of this customer to take the offer, make the offer available. What happens and what I've seen in my personal opinion here is we request data from people who actually don't even know how to provide the data to you. You go and ask for information or say, I need this report. We are actually sometimes guilty of being reluctant to tell them why do we need this report. So they don't know what the report is going to be used for. What you get is just a bunch of raw information that you're just trying to sort of put into Excel tables or PowerPoint presentations just for the sake of reporting the data.
Okay, and let me maybe go to Ian for the last word on this. You've just launched a program. How has that affected any of your training and needs within your frontline staff?
Well, I think I subscribe heavily to what Hamad mentioned earlier, that it has to be translated down to the frontline staff. And so when we launched our program, we spent 2 weeks training our phone operators and our drivers, but we also equally have very simple things in our stores. Each one of our stores, not on the front of house, but on the back of house, we actually have a iPad, Velcro to the wall, and so they can track all the customer feedback as well. Now, they're not authorized to respond. There's only certain people within our organization that are, but we are able to respond very quickly, and they can see real time what's happening. So the ability to get that real time data and respond in real time is very, very important. I get every single piece of data through this phone here that I need to run my business, and I'm integrated into the point of sale system. I can pull up your order, so if you tweet to me now and tell me you have a problem with your order right now, I will be able to pull up your order, I'll be able to find out what's going on. I've got video footage, I can pull up the video footage of that order, and then I can respond to you on Twitter all within a minute. Barring me having to contact one of the managers in the stores to find out additional information. So that ready availability of data is extremely important to use that data. And if you don't have the mechanism to drive that down into your organization, then a lot of this information is wasted, and social media is real time. And if you can't respond in real time, then you lose your engagement.
Okay, and how do you see the traditional structures within some of these industries changing to be more customer-facing? Banking, as an example, so you have the various operating silos that run within the bank, so credit card, wealth management, and then you have this overarching customer experience. So how do you think that some traditional structures may have to change to embrace this new way of working?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, because that's something that we've been working on for almost the last 2 years since this entire phenomenon became a fact of life. What we've sort of created is another layer of professionals within customer experience in an organization. And these are more linked to service quality than actually service administration that you'll actually see at the front end, which is at the call center or at the branch. So these set of professionals have been empowered with significant decision-making capabilities, as well as processes which allow them to respond to customers faster than they typically expect in the other mediums where they're interacting with the bank with. So I think the structural evolution is roles like customer experience, where service quality has moved into a customer experience sort of a function, where it's more operationally oriented in terms of delivery, besides monitoring and managing service quality expectations on an ongoing basis. But I think this is going to rapidly evolve further. I'm not too sure whether this is the right answer yet for the industry, but we're constantly seeking ways where I think the bottom line is that how do we efficiently respond to the requirements of this channel as it becomes more and more a part of people's daily existence.
Someone raised their hand at the end, back.
Hi, I'm Osama from Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank, Adib. I have a question for all of you. Do you think when it comes to measuring brand sentiment, Facebook, do you think they're sort of crippling the market by not sharing data on brands that is coming off people's timelines?
Rizwan, would you like to?
Okay, you give me the tough one, huh? I think that's, again, to your question, Osama, if I understand your question properly, are you saying that is Facebook willing to share the data with you? Is that the question? I think Mark Zuckerberg would be a better person to ask that question.
No, what my question was that right now Facebook gives you data on your page.
On your page, yes.
But with majority of conversations happening on people's timelines, people tagging specific brand names, do you think that it's a cripple not to have that data? Whereas you have that same data on Twitter where people are tweeting.
Well, it depends, again, going back to our discussion and the conclusion that I think we all agreed to, saying that you need to have the objective of what you're going to use the data for and what your objective is to be on Facebook, to be able to gather all that information for in the first place. I don't think it's crippling you in any way, because if you are getting the information from another source and it's very relevant to what you're trying to do with it, I don't think it's a crippling effect on the fact that you're not getting those off of the timeline.
It's just one data point, right? It is just one data point among 20 other data points that you might have available to your organization. So is it, I mean, would marketeers not like to have it? Yes, they would. But I mean, is it the most critical thing today? Probably not, because that's just one data point among a million others.
I think from our perspective, Facebook, I would agree with you, Osama. I think Facebook is deliberately hurting marketeers. They have the most valuable database, they have the most powerful database, and they're letting us know that they're the only ones that can use it, and you've got to pay to use it. As a business today, I am becoming increasingly more interested in Twitter than Facebook. I can't ignore Facebook because of the power of it and the reach and the amount of data that they have. So we have to do whatever we can within Facebook, but they're increasingly tightening that noose on the availability of information because they're walking that fine line between privacy and advocacy. And so Twitter for us is starting to become much, much more attractive as a medium to communicate with our customers.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's a great way. There will be some more questions. You can meet the members of the panel at lunch, I'm sure. That's a great way for us to move into our next subject matter, closing on Twitter. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being up here and sharing your insights into the industry and answering the questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.